So I'm going to start with my Bridal Shenyang. As you can see, we have some short hair. So I went back and forth. I'm like, should I just do a chignon with short hair? Totally doable, but it would be fairly small, and let's be honest, not effortless for me. So I decided I'm going to throw in some clip-in extensions. A lot of people like to see kind of how extensions are placed when I'm doing a style, so I thought this might be something that you guys would like. So I'm going to be doing a side chignon, and it's going to be kind of a knotted look over here. So what I'm going to do is just place all of my extensions. Sorry, mind your way. I'm going to do all of my extensions on one side. So like a whole bag or however many you have, just in that one spot. That's going to make it super easy to still get volume through everywhere else, but then have the bulk where you need it. And did you want to talk about her color a little bit, Cass?
Yeah, can we cue Alyssa's befores? I actually love that stuff showcasing extensions because I think it speaks to the ease in creating an upstyle with extensions, right? But with Alyssa's color and her extension color, we really wanted to focus on kind of that luxury brunette palette, right? And sometimes with luxury brunettes, I think less is more. You don't have to do a ton of accenting work. You don't have to do any tense, crazy balayages all the time. Sometimes the most subtle changes in a brunette can totally open their face up, can totally bring their eyes out and make those changes. So Alyssa was pretty solid, didn't have a lot of dimension going on in her hair, so we just added a couple accents throughout her hair using our cream lightener in 20 volume in our Simply Blonde portfolio. From there, we used a brand new color palette tonal family. It's our Natural Ultra Ashes. These shades are incredible for a couple different reasons. First and foremost, they are the coolest naturals you can get. So think about those clients that are wanting great coverage, who hate warmth. Like those are the clients that consistently come back to you and say, I see red. And we know they're probably not seeing red. It's probably just light reflection. But for those clients, the Natural Ultra Ashes are the perfect selection to not only cover their gray, but give them that maximum neutralization. So at her base, we utilized the 6 Natural Ultra Ash, and we melted that into our 8 Natural Ultra Ash, which is calibrated to have a violet base. So it's nice and good for that level 8 underlying pigment. And we mixed that with 7B just to create some depth. So it was, again, a very subtle luxury palette. What do you guys think of her color?
Super
like
pretty.
It? Good.
It's very natural, which I'm all about, especially for anything wedding. You know, you don't want to look back and be like, oh, that color's from 2006, you know. So this is a very timeless color. Okay, so I've just been back combing a little bit at the roots and clipping these in, and also spraying the Kenra Volume Spray 25 at the roots, my go-to hairspray. So that's really good for locking in your back combing and getting your extensions to stay as well. And you'll notice too, in some of these spots, especially when I was a little bit lower on her head, I'm almost folding the extensions on top of themselves. So let's see, here's a long one right here. So if I want all my bulk in one spot, it's gonna help like accentuate that even more if I bunch up my extensions. So instead of laying them flat, I'm literally just clipping all of the clips right next to each other to get as much bulk in that one spot as possible. So obviously you wouldn't do this on top because you would see it, but anywhere underneath, I just like to bunch them all in there together. Okay, and this is probably good. Maybe I'll clip in one more, and then I'll go ahead and start on her chignon. So with her chignon, I'm going to do like a technique that I use quite often that's very simple and fast. I feel like nowadays, brides are all about like a really pretty texture and a very simple updo, you know? I'm doing less and less of like, loop this curl here and loop that curl there. It's all just like, give me pretty curls and then put it in a bun, you know? So that's kind of what I'm going to go for with her hair today. So I'm gonna get all of this in a low ponytail here on the side. The only part that I'm going to leave out is just this front section. I want to like flip this and have it like have some good sexy volume through there. So I'm gonna leave that out, this side as well, and then do that at the end.
That is some sexy volume.
Yes.
We prepped her hair with our new Nitro Memory Cream too, and I think for upstyling, that's one of my at least favorite products to recommend for prepping a style because it gives you style memory. So when I think style memory, I think about maintaining that body, maintaining that curl pattern. And if you have clients that want to transition their upstyles, Steph, I feel like you need something in there, right, to kind of prep and give that foundation.
Yes, absolutely. And that's also very popular right now. It's like, oh, I want half up for my ceremony and all down for my reception, or all up for this and all down for that, or whatever. So yeah, especially when you're involving like bobby pins and stuff, it definitely helps to have something in there to help that stay.
I am over here with Madison, our beautiful copper, and I'm just kind of getting her hair prepped a little bit further so that way Steph can do a really pretty braid on her in just a bit. But one thing I want to speak to in terms of prep, especially with this hair type and texture. So with Madison, she has really fine, fragile hair. Okay, and anytime I think of fine, fragile hair specifically, I almost like to think of it kind of like a fabric. So think of your favorite t-shirt. If you wear that t-shirt, you stretch it out, the only way you can get it to revert back to its original shape or silhouette is to wash it, right? If it's too stretched out, you can't wear it again. So the hair kind of reacts in a similar way. If we overwork this super fine hair, it's not going to be manipulated the way we want it to, and it'll almost collapse. So what we did to prep her hair is we actually air dried her hair predominantly. We diffused it a little bit to enhance her wave, but we used our air dry cream to just give it a little bit of body, a little bit of frizz control, but maintain as much elasticity in it as possible. Now what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm doing a couple different waving techniques. So I'm going to use a couple different irons throughout here. This first one I'm using a Marcel for. You can totally do this wave pattern with a flat iron as well. The reason I'm choosing a Marcel is because I can control the pressure I put on that subsection. So again, thinking of it as a fabric, if you over pressurize a fabric, it's going to be way too flat. And we want to make sure that we're maintaining as much movement and body as possible. So I'm going to come in and just kind of lightly tap my Marcel over. And I'm really focused on over-directing the hair, low tension, and I'm kind of bending it in opposite directions to create a little bit of like a soft S-pattern wave. I feel like the best way to make wave look natural is to have a couple different versions of waves in there. So I'm just working my wrist to kind of create this shape. I think this is fun because it's a little bit different from the traditional twist-out waves we do, right? Something different.
And people love that like curl that doesn't necessarily look like a curl pattern, you know? Like they like to have that variety in there.
Absolutely, just like a soft wave.
Exactly.
So I'm going to continue this for a little bit to get her prepped and ready to go for Steph's up style.
Okay, so I'll jump in. This is cute. Should we just leave it like this? So does this give you anxiety, like creating a chignon with all of these? So if I were to leave this just like silky smooth and these ends just silky smooth and blunt, it would be super hard to like create a chignon and not have pieces everywhere. So what I'm doing is going through and backcombing everything that went into the elastic, and then I'm going to smooth out the outside. And what that's going to do is kind of make everything blend together and function as one piece instead of a bunch of little blunt pieces. That's going to make it a lot easier. That's something that I often end up doing when I'm working with extensions. Just makes the hair blend so much more.
That's such a great tip. I feel like one of the things that I've always struggled with the most, and upstyling especially, is blending those extensions.
Yeah. And even if we didn't have these in, like those would be really hard to control if we didn't backcomb them. Okay, so now I'm just going to smooth out the outside, and I'm going to get a little bit of the Kenra Perfect Medium Spray 13 in here, and also probably some of the Kenra 25. So I'm just making this all one shape. I'm really trying to control my texture, my frizz, all of that before I start pinning. It's much easier to control it before you pin than to, you know, finish pinning and be like, oh, now I have to fix all these things. So I'm really taking my time detailing this right now. And I'm not combing out any of my back combing in the interior, keeping all of that in there. Okay, so let's add some of the 13 in here.
You love that 13, huh?
I do. I just inhaled it. Sorry.
Been there.
Okay, and then let's also add some of the 25. And then I think we'll be about ready to start our chignon.
Cool.
Okay, so am I good to keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
You go, girl.
Okay, so a couple things I like to do. One, a lot of times when I do like an inside out elastic, I'll do like a topsy tail to start a chignon. So instead of going like a traditional topsy tail, sorry guys, I can't talk today, goes from the bottom to the top and you pull it through, I'm gonna go from side to side. So I am poking the hole directly through the side here, and then I'm gonna pull all of the hair through there, and then it's gonna give me a really clean edge on this opposite side. That is a large section of hair. There we go. So now on this side, okay, so now on this side, this is going to have a nice clean edge right there, which is good for right by the ear, because I feel like this is kind of a tricky spot to pin sometimes, because there's not like a lot going on right there, like not a lot of hair to pin into. So I like to make that edge nice and clean if I can right there. So I'm gonna back comb this a little bit more under here, and then I'll get this wrapped under here and pinned like that, and then we can incorporate our ends.
Every time I watch Steph do this stuff, I feel like I blink and the hair is like completely transformed, like totally upswept and different. So as you guys watch her, I feel like every time I see her doing things, it's the little things like this, like how she reworks the hair, how she takes that starting point and kind of does manipulate it, doesn't try to make the hair do something it doesn't want to do, works with it instead of against it, you know? I feel like all of those things, anytime I watch Steph, are like the game changers.
You're just so nice. I gave her a little bit of a bump it here when I did that, so getting rid of her bump it, unless that's what she wants, of course. Some brides really like that bump it. I'm sure you guys know. Okay, so now that's looking a little better. I'm gonna spray this and get it nice and smooth and wrap it around. And I kind of like these soft little guys left out by your face. We're gonna leave those for now. Okay, and then this, I'm going to pin over here on this opposite side. So this is a good starting point. This is gonna help me like have something in my interior to give me bulk. It's also helping to get all of those short layers tucked under, which will be nice, and then I'll just have to work with these. So this will take me probably 1 billion bobby pins, because her hair is so thick. I remember when I first started doing styling, like updos, I used to try to like conserve bobby pins, you know? Like, no, let's not use a lot. And that was just, it just never works.
If you need them, you do it.
Yep.
So I'm continuing my wave pattern over here, and while I'm waving Madison's hair, I kind of want to talk about her color. So let's pull her before pictures up. Now, this is the second time I've done Madison's hair color, which is great, but she is that client who is just your standard traditional ground out highlight balayage, okay? Has always been blonde, right? You've pretty much always been blonde. So this copper is totally new for her. Would you have ever done copper if I hadn't told you it was like great for you? She said she almost didn't do it, okay? But I told her, I said, listen, I have a brave recommendation for you. I think it's gonna look so good, so striking. It's gonna bring out your eyes. It's gonna go great with the tonality of your skin, especially during her summer tan period. And we did it. And now, how do you feel about it?
Looks so good.
She loves it.
It looks so natural. I thought it was like her natural color.
Yeah. And that's the hope, right? Is that as the professional, we can get our clients to be brave through our recommendations and really show off our artistry. You know, show off what you can do in formulation. Make those recommendations because your clients might not know what looks best on them. Chances are they probably have no idea what type of skin tone they have. chances are they might not even notice the specks in their eyes that you could totally bring out through formulation. And if you make those recommendations, I think sometimes that's what can differentiate the colorist that they choose to stay loyal to versus one that they just visit one time. You know? So be empowered to be brave in your consultation and do something different for them to celebrate who they are individually and what makes them unique.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so now all I have to do is get these ends twisted up. This part is very visual, and it's very dependent on the client. Sometimes I will end up, weaving it across. I'll go underneath. I'll kind of loop it this way and that way. It totally depends on kind of like how intricate you want it to look. I like the shape that we have going so far, so I'm just going to continue with that. I like how simple it is. So now I just have to get these wrapped up. So I'm smoothing this out. Let's go around this way. And then with this last piece, I'll probably go back around that way. Okay, let me just smooth this a little bit more. All about that 25. That's the one thing that I notice when I teach hands-on classes is that people are afraid to use a lot of product. And for me, product is like where the magic happens.
And Steph, you've been working with us, and by us I mean Kenra Professional, for a while now. Was Volume Spray kind of like your gateway product?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I still remember before I used 25, and I was like trying other brands, which shall remain unnamed. And I was like, oh, they're okay. And then I found the 25, and I just have never gone back to any other hairspray for the last, I don't even know how many years.
Yeah.
10 years? 10 years?
From there, have you had any other like signature products that are now like a part of
I love the Perfect Medium Spray 13.
That's right.
And I love the Dry Texture Spray 6. And I love the Platinum Working Wax 15. Those are my go-tos. I'm sure if anyone follows me on Instagram, they know that. I post about them all the time. Okay, so this one I'm going to wrap and use to fill in the center here. Okay, don't worry, Cass, I'm almost done.
I love it.
It's getting there.
It looks great.
It turns out that extensions add more hair to the hair.
Imagine that.
So her hair ended up being quite thick.
But how are you guys so glad you're seeing her take someone from short hair into a full chignon? Like, I feel like that's so refreshing. That's very real that we have clients coming in wanting something totally different than what they have.
Oh, yeah.
Like, picture the client who, even in terms of color, like comes in with a picture of J-Lo and they have like 2 hairs on their head.
Yeah.
Like, girl, listen, we're not magicians, we're hairdressers. So I think it's just so cool to see the transformations you can make utilizing that.
Yeah, a lot of times people are surprised, like, what you can do with their hair,
Yeah.
I get a lot of people who are like, oh, everyone on your Instagram has so much hair. And it's like, you'd be surprised. Like, some people have 2 hairs on their head. And you can, with the right texture and the right product, you can get a lot out of it.
Oh my gosh, look at that, you guys. Do you see that front view? How amazing is that?
She's a beautiful bride.
That's what I mean. I blink and she does this.
And it's done.
Crazy.
Okay. Everybody needs a little bling in their life. And then I'll just finish with the 25. Okay, let's bring you up here real quick. Give everyone a closer look. So if this were like an actual client and I was sitting in the chair at the salon, this is the point when I would detail. I would look in the mirror. I would check it from every angle. I would fix things like this, just like those details. That's what take it from like a good updo to a really good updo. I'd probably do a little bit more smoothing through here, all of that stuff. And of course, with any client, actual client, they're very particular about the front. So I usually spend a lot of time making that front look exactly how they want it to. Okay, how do we feel? Do you guys like it? Hopefully. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to come bring Madison up really quick because I told you guys how I did her color. I didn't tell you what I used. So let's walk up there too, and then I'm going to pass her to Steph so she can do her up style. It's copper, so it's a soft copper, okay? And with blondes, anytime I'm offering a bold, brave change, I do like to be a little bit more subtle in formulation just to make sure it's a friendly transition for them. You know, we don't want them to be totally overwhelmed and terrified of the change. But at her base, I did our 8C mixed equal parts with 8SM. So 8SM is a blue-based shade, so it's an ash tone. But what it did is it just helped soften, because we know she's going to expose warmth at her base, helped soften that copper. Then we did some light painting, a wet balayage throughout the mids and ends, and glazed her with 8C and 8 ROM. I love adding blushy tones. The 8 ROM is kind of a blush rosy base. I love adding that to my coppers just to give it that little bit of softness. And then we also glazed with 8C and clear, which is kind of that little bit more of a gold color, so that way she has still a bright feel and doesn't feel too dark. But what do you guys think of her color?
Love it.
Love it? Awesome.